Some people spend their whole lives devoted to prayer, but they don't feel any connection with God, nor do they get to see God or feel His presence. This raises the question of whether God truly exists, and this has always been a topic of debate. This question has divided humans into two categories: believers, astic, and non-believers, nastic. We all know about this, but today's story is going to be special because, in today's story, we will learn what Lord Buddha's belief was. Before discussing anything about God, whatever thoughts you might have, after listening to this story, your thoughts will become absolutely clear and precise regarding whether God exists or not. If He does exist, then how can one attain Him? So, without wasting any more time, let's start today's story. Before you get lost in this story, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Now, let's begin. It happened a long time ago. There was a very knowledgeable warrior man. His knowledge was so profound that even great scholars would accept defeat in front of his wisdom. Whenever there were discussions on knowledge or debates on scriptures, this man would join in and astonish everyone with his knowledge. Due to his vast knowledge, he started becoming arrogant and considered himself to be the greatest scholar. He believed that he was the most knowledgeable person, and others seemed insignificant in front of him. One day, he heard about Buddha and how Buddha had attained enlightenment. This man got an opportunity to showcase his knowledge even more and thought that he would go to Buddha, engage in a debate with him, and prove his knowledge as false. This would further elevate his fame and reputation. When he was about to meet Buddha, he found out that Buddha does not talk about the concept of God. So, he devised a plan. He went to Buddha's ashram and introduced himself as a warrior and asked a question that no one has been able to answer till now. He said, "I have heard that you have attained the ultimate truth. Can you answer my question? I want to know if God exists." Buddha smiled and said, "Do you really want to know about God or want to show your knowledge?" The man said, "Buddha, will you not answer my question?" Buddha replied, "I will answer all your questions, but can you give back something for these answers? Because you don't get answers to these questions so easily." This man had become so arrogant that to prove himself he was ready to go to any extent. That's why without thinking anything he said to Buddha, "I am ready to do whatever you tell me to do, but you will need to give the answer to my questions. I am ready to give you the wealth and belonging that I possess." Buddha smiled and said, "I don't want all these things." The man asked, "Then what do you want?" Buddha replied, "You will have to stay with me in silence for 2 years. If you can do that, then I will answer all your questions." Upon hearing this, the man was shocked. He thought, "What has Buddha asked for? It means that for 2 years, I won't be able to showcase my knowledge. It would have been better if Buddha had asked for my life." But this man was a warrior, after all. And that's why he was adamant about taking risks. He had already said that he was willing to go all in, and he couldn't back down now. Placing a stone on his heart, he told Buddha that he was ready. Buddha replied, "Rest today, start from tomorrow." The man spent the whole night restless, unable to sleep. He was wondering where he had gotten himself into. He had been going quite smoothly on his path, but here, his gamble seemed to have turned against him. The next day, he got up and began the vow of silence. Initially, he managed to sail through, but on the second day, he became restless. Each moment felt heavy, and he felt burdened. As he continued, 4 months passed, and while looking at disciples questioning Buddha, he became anxious to answer them. Those 4 months transformed him significantly. He felt anger but couldn't speak a word. He remained red and disappointed, looking around in anger. One day, he took a big stone, went near Buddha, threw it in front of him, and then walked away. Looking at this, Buddha went behind him and he took him near a pond and said, "I give you permission to break the silence for a while. You can ask me anything you wish." But the man nodded his head in denial. Buddha replied, "Okay, then you can answer my questions by nodding your head." He pointed to the pond and asked, "Do you see the moon in this pond?" The man shook his head in acceptance. Then Buddha said, "Throw a stone in this pond." Then the man threw a stone into the pond. Buddha asked, "Can you see the moon clearly now?" The man nodded his head in denial. Then Buddha continued, "Just as the calm water reflects the moon as it is when you threw a stone into the pond, the reflection of the moon disappeared. Similarly, when your mind is calm and peaceful, you can clearly see the reflection of the Supreme Being. But when your mind is filled with thoughts and disturbances, the reflection becomes unclear and hard to perceive. That's why rather than external silence, it is more important to have an inner silence. To be silent from inside, calm your thoughts, that time we can see the truth. For these past months, you kept silent and collected energy. That energy is trying to get out of you through anger, and that is the only way for it. But if you can control your thoughts even now, the same energy will give you the strength to find the truth, the Supreme Being. So, by being angry, don't ruin it, embrace it in yourself, so that you can see your reflection." This thing the man understood. For 2 years, he practiced external and internal silence and made himself calm. After the 2 years passed, Buddha said, "The 2 years of your silence have passed, and you can now ask whatever you want." It was the first time in 2 years that the man spoke, and his word was Buddha. His voice had such an attraction and compassion that everyone wanted to hear him. Then the man said, "Buddha, when I asked you that question back then, I considered myself a great scholar. But now, I realize that considering myself knowledgeable was my biggest mistake. In reality, when I attained true knowledge, I realized that I know nothing, and in the universe of the Supreme Being has countless mysteries. We mistakenly believe that we already know everything, and this very thought closed my capacity to learn. Before, I used to waste my energy by talking incessantly, but in these 2 years of silence, I learned about energy, and what kind of energy generates within our body. I have understood this very well during these 2 years. Initially, outwardly I was silent, but from inside I was quite disturbed. The flood of thoughts kept coming, making me angry, but due to my strong determination, I did not let my mind waver. After some time passed, even that anger became calm, and I became silent from within. After that, I experienced the truth, or rather the realization of the Supreme Being. In ancient Tibet there used to live a wise Buddhist monk. Once, a man came to him and said, "Mahatma Ji, I cannot come to your satsang, spiritual gathering. Can you tell me the essence of the entire religion in one sentence?" That time the monk said, "Silence." After that, the man asked, "In which direction does silence take you?" Monk replied, "Meditation." Then he asked, "In which direction does meditation take you?" Monk answered, "Silence." If even one person understands the essence of this story, then our purpose of sharing this story will be fulfilled. If you like this story, do subscribe to this channel. Take care of yourself until the next story and stay blissful.